Hey, what is going on, everybody? My name is Chad, and this week we are kind of continuing on my vlog thing that I'm starting. It's not really a vlog, it's more or less me explaining, week to week what is going on with my Japanese learning in Japan. If you guys can't tell, which you might, I don't know, depends. I technically haven't done my house tour, so I don't know why you would. This is my room in America. I have not left for Japan yet. I leave in 2 weeks. I'm so excited. Very nervous, but because I leave so soon, I wanted to do basically like a level check. Like, I wanted to explain to you guys kind of where I'm at in the language, and so if you guys are interested in going into these schools, you can kind of see where I started, and you can see how far I've kind of progressed, week to week, month to month. You can see, at the end of my stay there, if I'm good enough at the language, and this is sort of where you want to be. You're like, hey, Chad, I want to be able to do what you do in the language, I should say, then hey, how long do I need to be there for? And that's sort of what this is. Mostly this is a diary for me because I get very self-conscious and discouraged all the time about everything because I think I'm a trash can. And I know I shouldn't be because I've come so far, especially to do most of this on my own, that I wanted a way to show myself that I can look back and say, hey, look how far you've come. The work you put in wasn't wasted, which is sort of what this whole channel is. So I'm starting this every Saturday. This is my level check, and each week I will be real with you guys, and I'll be telling you, man, I feel awful. I feel like I'll never learn anything. I'm so frustrated. I'm the worst in my class, or, God willing, it'll be, hey, I killed it this week. My teacher says I'm the best in the class, which technically only happened once when I was there last time. Everyone in my class was really good, so that was very high praise for me. But I'm just going to be real with you, and I'm going to be talking about everything that I'm doing there. And I invite you along to hang out and to, experience it and experience what a Japanese language school is. So come along with me. But right now, level check. So I will preface this. I did not just study with these methods. I've been studying for 2 years. I studied both in Japan, self-study with a Japanese tutor. Never studied in like a college or a high school. I pretty much missed that ball pretty fast. But I did self-study, and I self-studied for a year with a weekly Skype-in chat with a Japanese person and texted them a lot. And then went to Japan to school for the first time, and then came back home and self-studied. Went back to Japan a second time just to practice everything I studied that 6 months that I was there for a month over there. Came back and then self-studied till now when I go back to school for 6 months to a year. That's sort of been my schedule-ish thus far. But I'm going to explain everything that I've done and the knowledge base that I have. So if you guys would like to get as far as I have, you can study all this yourself, get to this point before you go, and then you can expect to have similar results. In theory. So right now, I did 7 seasons with Japanese Pod. I did Absolute Beginner 1 and 2, and then I did Newbie Seasons 1 through 5, and then I left for Japan. That put me, give or take, 2 chapters before finishing Genki Book 1. This book is amazing and helped me so much. This is actually the book I studied with at the school in Japan. This is the first book of 2, and I have the second one here. This is the second Genki book, and I finished this one when I came home. This book roughly equates to your JLPT N5-ish, and then the books together, the Genki 1 and Genki 2, equal about your JLPT N4-ish, and then the kanjis for these go halfway into your JLPT N3. I did not study these kanjis except in school, and I blew through them because of a method I'll tell you in a sec, but I am basically done with both, meaning I know all the grammar from both books, I know all the vocabulary from both books, and even though I did not study the kanji in both of these methods, I did study kanji intensely, and I'll tell you how I did that in a second. But first, why don't I tell you sort of how I used these books with my method. And this method that I used is directly based on how the school works in Japan. I'm going to Genki Jacks, which is a great school, and I love the teachers, and the people are awesome. This is the way that I studied, so that way when I went to that school, I wasn't like drowning because they're going so fast. I kind of found the pace that they went at, and that's how I studied even when I was at home, so I was never quite behind. Alrighty, everyone, so this is just kind of a closer look at my method. I'm going to go over all these books and what they mean to me here in a second, but we're going to start with this guy over here. So this is the Genki books 1 and 2. This one's number 1. My number 2 is off screen. Basically, the way that this book works, I'm going to open it up over here. The book itself is kind of comprised of a couple different things. Each chapter is lined out right there. You'll get a front page with a translation, and basically every single chapter, you should be able to read everything on this page at the end of this chapter. This includes the stuff you're going to learn this time. I never really touched that. Your next page you're going to get, this is all of your vocabulary. Now, I usually don't study too much in here, except for maybe like you'll see the occasional notes and whatever I happen to have. Most of what I do is in the Memorize app. I will explain that later. Then every single chapter in this book, they all have these little sweet sections that break down 1, 2, it's usually 4 to 6, right? So this chapter actually has 7 parts. And what I do is 7 days a week. I should be doing 6, but I'm kind of kicking it into overtime. Every single day, I pick a different one of these to go through in chronological order. I learn what that lesson has to teach me, and then I go, if you go to the end of the chapter, you go to these practice sections, and I basically practice all of these. Now, I used to write in these books, which is a really bad habit because I want them to last multiple uses. Maybe I can give them to a friend, or maybe I want to go back and review. So what I ended up doing was anytime I had stuff like this where it's, hey, conjugate the te forms, I then bought this is my little famous Gudetama notebook. And all I do is I just go into here and I end up, writing everything that I need to write. I also take all my notes in here so that when my book, I can, go over those practice things years from now, and they're, the answers aren't already in there. I did use the workbook for the Genki book 1. I just don't have a physical of it anymore. I threw it away. This is what it looks like. And these guys are awesome. Basically, the school that I went to, they almost just photocopied everything out of these pages just to make sure that you had homework at the end of every single night. So you can pretty much go in here and find what your homework is going to be a day ahead of when it would actually come out. This is super helpful to have. Now, I do not do these with the practice guides from the book. What I end up doing is whenever I finish the book, I spend a week in the actual workbook and I review everything. Everything that I learned, everything that I was bad at, I review it in this book. But just my week-to-week kind of studying and homework is just the practice section of this book, and I obviously write everything out with my notes inside my Gudetama notebook. Alrighty, so now that you've learned sort of what I did in these books and sort of how they worked, I will say I looked it up. I'm pretty sure both these books, both the Genki 1 and 2 books, have like 1,700 words. I don't know if you guys want to do these. There are free PDFs of both, as well as the workbooks online. You can get them on there, or you can buy them. Honestly, I would recommend buying them. I like having physical things. If you don't want to, I understand. I was the budget Japanese learner myself. I will link the PDFs, hopefully, in the description if I remember when I put this up. But now that you have learned the grammar and the vocab and stuff and sort of where I'm at, now let's talk kanji. Kanji-wise, I cannot recommend this book enough. This should be your kanji Bible. This is Remembering the Kanji by Heisig, and it is the standard for English people trying to remember the kanji. Now, there's several different volumes of this book. The first one only teaches you... why don't I explain this more in depth with the book? Last but not least, this is Remembering the Kanji. Now, there's so many good videos on why and how this method works. I'm not going to talk to you about those. All I'm going to say is this book works off of not remembering necessarily the pronunciation of words, but how to read what it means. So reading, how do you know that this kanji, for instance, means gallbladder? Or how this one means convex? Well, what happens is he writes a little story that gets kind of embedded into your imagination center in your brain. And I'm telling you, it sticks like glue. So what I do not do is I do not write out endlessly kanjis just to remember the stroke orders. All I do is pull up in my brain the little story that I learned, and I remember the whole kanji and even how to write it. Now, before I stopped to focus on grammar, I learned 414 kanjis from this book. I'll also say I probably know about 200 kanjis just from living in Japan and the various other methods I studied. So I'd say right now I'm at about 600 or so kanjis, and when I get back to Japan, I will be doing what I recommend to you guys, which is 5 days a week, 10 new words a day with reviewing with a spaced repetition method. I'll talk about Anki and that sort of stuff later. And yeah, in 6 or so months, you should be able to learn every single kanji there is in Japanese with this method. Well, that's another thing I should probably talk about. How did I get to memorizing these? It sounds like a crazy number, like 1,700 words and 600 kanji, but I studied 600 kanji in like 3 months. Vocab's taken 23 weeks, more or less. So that's just in these books. I do know more just from living in Japan and the various other methods I've studied, and I text people in Japan almost every day, just my friends and stuff. But the methods that I use for remembering the kanji, I use an app called Anki. It's a spaced repetition thing, and spaced repetition, if you were learning a language, is your best friend. You've probably heard it a million times. I don't need to preach that to you, but basically it is a flashcard system where the better and quicker you answer the flashcards, the less and less you see them, and the ones that you have the most trouble with or take the longest time to figure out are the ones you see more often. It's more efficient, it uses up less of your time, so you have more time to study, or like me, more time to decompress, because I already spend like 2 hours a day minimum studying. My family probably misses me because all I do is sit in this room and make videos and or study, so thanks for the support, fam. When it comes to my vocabulary, I use Memorize. Now, I mean, either of these, I don't really have a preference. Anki system had the remembering the kanji cards already installed, and it was free on my desktop, so I was like, I'll just download this. Memorize was free at the time that I got it. I'm pretty sure it's still free. And I got most of the school my first trip using it, because I showed them what it was like, and the teachers ended up recommending it. So there's a good chance if you do go to Genki Jack's Fukuoka, you will probably, the teachers will probably tell you to use Memorize, and that's because of Chad Miser over here. But again, it's spaced repetition. That one has audio with it, so it'll help you kind of remember the audio, the kanji, any of that other stuff. It's really not that impressive, but that's how I got to this point. So if you guys are interested in going to these schools, I recommend follow me along. I will be doing Wednesday videos that are about Japan or tea time. I guess a lot of you guys enjoyed my tea time video. That'll be more than likely a bi-weekly thing that I do. And I'm so excited to do that. I'm so happy you guys liked it, because I worked really hard and I enjoyed making it. So I will see that every other week. The other week besides that will be my regular Japan video. It'll be me traveling to places, me talking about Japan things, me showing you guys around to places, interviewing Japanese people, probably all sorts of fun stuff. Saturdays will be this type of video. It'll be a vlog about the school and what I've learned, and kind of like a progress report as I go. And also probably just a life kind of decompressor, because I'll probably be very sad and lonely because I'm leaving, so many of my friends and family and people that are important to me behind. So I'll need this kind of self-gratification. And then yeah, I do song translations on Saturdays, which they're not necessarily on hiatus. I just need to figure out where they fit in my school schedule, so they're not coming back until after I'm in Japan, and I can kind of situate where I'm at. It also doesn't help that this, where's the fair use stuff's been happening. It's taken down a lot of my friends' channels and is terrifying. But I do know how to kind of work around YouTube stuff, so I'm not gonna stop doing it. I'm figuring out where it falls. So I'll be at 3 videos a week. If these interest you, I highly recommend you check out my other videos. If these all are things that you want to say, hey, I would like more Chad in my life, please consider subscribing to my channel. You're not a number, you're a friend, I promise you. If you like this video, be sure to like it down below. Again, these likes aren't numbers, they don't make me feel better. What they do is they make the video rank higher, and it makes people find them, and it makes my channel grow, which is an extension of my ego. Not really, it's not an extension of my ego. I want the channel to grow because it's a channel based on showing you guys things that I love and helping you learn them and become them. And so I'd like to share that with as broad of an audience as possible, but I also want to make it as intimate as possible and to talk to you guys. So if you have any questions, comments, concerns, compliments, I love that last one, I don't get enough of them, be sure to comment down below. I really do answer all of them. I answer all my messages, I answer all my tweets, as long as it's nice or even constructive. Like, you can criticize me, and I love that. I like making the channel better. But if you are just telling me to get wrecked, I probably won't talk to you. But anyways, that's about it for this week, you guys. I will see you obviously on Wednesday with whatever video I decide to do then. And I will catch you on Saturday with this next video, and I will be in Japan soon, so there may be not a video the Wednesday-ish of the 30th, depending. I think I'll pre-schedule one. We'll see. I'm not going there yet. I will see you guys on Wednesday. I love you very much. Mwah, mwah. Spirit fingers.